Hey guys, so this kind of just fell right into my lap. As you know, this is a channel that really focuses on defamation. We have covered defamation from Pat McAfee, Brett Favre, Shannon Sharp. We've covered defamation from Michael Irvin, the Dallas Cowboy, and Marriott. We've covered defamation from even people trying to send cease and desist letters talking about me. We covered defamation from the very get-go from Sports Card Investor, sent a very lengthy cease and desist mentioning my name to Sports Card Radio. So this is basically what I do on this channel. Now, is it interesting that Anthony is being covered by this? Absolutely. I mean, it doesn't get any better for my channel than a defamation case involving Anthony. It's the two topics colliding. It is a legal issue. I'm a lawyer barred in New York. I have a lot of different things to talk about that you may not know as a non-lawyer, or maybe you just Google it. But the complaint is a CME International LLC. You might be like, who's that? Well, that is, I believe, Bob's Watches. Bob's Watches is an online marketplace for the resale and trade of watches with a focus on Rolexes. As of 2016, it is one of the largest watch reselling websites in the United States. It's a privately held company. There's 24 employees as of 2014, so that hasn't really been updated. And the headquarters is Newport Beach, California. And Bob Watches has pretty good website. Definitely something that looks very legitimate. Versus Timepiece gentleman, Trevor James Nadar. So Trevor, I think that's the Trevor that we know and love, the number 2 salesperson, only behind Anthony by a little bit. In individual and those 1 to 10, which we'll get into a little later. So this has a case number. This is the real deal. This is not something fake. This is definitely a case. Plaintiff is now, and at all times herein mentioned, liability company, duly organized, yada yada, doing business as Bob's Watches. So it is Bob's Watches. That's the plaintiff. Plaintiff is informed, believes, and therefore alleges that defendant, the Timepiece gentleman, TPG, or defendant, is now in all times mentioned a California limited liability doing business. So they should have been under the laws of the state of Delaware. Most companies in Texas and California, no matter where you are, often you are organized and you exist under the laws of the state of Delaware. The reason that is Delaware is very, very business friendly. And Anthony, however, and his lawyers, whoever they may be, they actually may have made a massive mistake from the get-go by putting their business in California, which is not as business friendly as Delaware. So off the bat, that's something that a non-lawyer would not look at. That's something I look at, and it's a huge red flag that Anthony's business is not a limited liability company in Delaware, but a limited liability company in California. I would surmise that 99% of California companies are limited liability companies in Delaware, some enormous amount of number. All right. Very interesting. It's not Delaware. So they're both located. So the venue, a lot of times we do the boring things. It's called civil procedure. Every 1L in law school needs to learn it. And the question in the beginning is this the proper venue? Is it the proper court? Is it federal versus state? We've talked about that in the Brett Favre, Pat McAfee, Shannon Sharp case where they sent it to federal. Also in the Mike Irving, a lot of the first thing for a real case, Many times, people online, these are fake cases because in a real case, the first thing you argue over is where do we have to go to court to? Obviously, you want, you want a venue that is, if you're a business, pro-business, if you are a customer or a person who's been defamed, depending on the venue, they have a history. It's called case law. So a court up in New York is very famous for being a specific way. A court in California can be very famous for being another way. And it's not just trial courts, it's also appeals, especially state courts. They often have judges that are in place for a long time, and therefore there's a lengthy case study of how they're likely to rule. So the venue, I think, is fair to be in California. Here are the allegations. Plaintiff is informed and believes thereon alleges that as part of a creation of a YouTube video on or about December 9th, 2022, defendants Nader and TPG audio and videotaped a telephone call made by defendant Nader or on behalf of defendant TPG, which one of the plaintiff's employees without plaintiff or the employee's knowledge or consent. So we talked about this in the AD case in Arizona where it was a one-party consent, and you could be, so the person, ironically, the person who is consenting could be the person recording it, even though the other person doesn't know it's being recorded. So in Arizona, that's fine, but in California, I had to double check, but it looks like they're saying that it is not. Those postings include several YouTube videos during which defendants TPG identifies a Rolex warranty card sold by plaintiff to one of its customers as being fake, being manipulated, and the card is no good, referencing the washing of the card and asking plaintiff's customer if he bought it from Bob's like this, what the hell, damn. These statements are false, and when considered all reasonable inferences, it clearly calls into question the authenticity of the warranty card and accuses plaintiff of dishonesty in its business practice. So this is very similar to it's actually quite similar to the confiscation of the Italian jeweler's watch in combination with the privately recording the AD. It's almost like both cases wrapped up in one. Plaintiff is further informed and believes there is an ongoing attempt to damage plaintiff in its reputation. In addition to the above referenced YouTube videos, defendant TPG and its agents Doze 1 to 10 therefore took excerpts from these posts and created a TikTok post during which defendant TPG's representative specifically calls in question the authenticity of the Rolex warranty card sold by plaintiff to his customers, saying that the card has been manipulated in this card. So that's typically what they do. They take these video snippets and then they post it on TikTok, not something that we wouldn't know. And then the hashtags they were using on TikTok was hashtag sketchy TikTok, hashtag sketchy vibes, hashtag fraudsters, hashtag, you guys get it, the point. Despite demand from counsel for plaintiff to delete defamatory posts and initial agreements by defendant's TPG representatives to do so, defendant TPG failed to immediately delete or otherwise address the defamatory statements contained with the YouTube and TikTok posts, and said statements have and continue to cause plaintiff significant damage. Plaintiff is informed and believes thereon alleges that defendant TPG and Doze 1 to 10, so when they mean Doze 1 to 10, it's basically his salespeople. Not only knew, so they only really knew Trevor's name, but they're alleging that other people have also mentioned these false statements, allegedly false statements. Defendants TPG and Doze 1 to 10 made these false accusations as statements of fact, not statements of opinion. So this is now, we're getting to defamation now. This is the heart of this channel. What is defamation? What is not defamation? So an opinion is not defamation. An opinion can actually be wrong, but without actual malice, which is the standard. I could be wrong in my opinion about somebody or someone, but if I didn't act in actual malice, I'm fine. And what they're saying is that these are not opinions, these are statements of fact. They knew they were false. Defendants made these false statements and continue to make same by not removing the posts with the intent to injure and so on. Plaintiff hereby realleges and incorporates hereby paragraphs 1 to 5. He indeed and believes, therefore, that on December 9th, 2022. So this case has been in for a while. They're arguing about something that happened in 2022. The phone call was unknowingly to plaintiff and plaintiff's employee being recorded by audio and video for future use. So this is something that I really, even in the Arizona video, I was like, even in a one-state consent, people are not going to like this. This confidential conversation was willingly, deliberate, maliciously, and intentionally recorded by defendants Nader, TPG, and does 1 to 10, and each of them by means of electronic device in violation of the Section 632 of the California. So California does have a penal code about this, about privately recording. Not every state does. Most states. Actually, let me check my own state. Texas recording law. So Texas is also a one-party consent state, as is Arizona. California recording law. California, all parties to any confidential conversation must be given their consent to be recorded. Bang. So, unfortunately for him, it looks like the recording, because it was from a Californian company. He's in California. Bob Watts is in California. Therefore, he's kind of screwed. Now, if he's in California, or if he's in Arizona, he'll be fine. But because he was in California, clearly at the office recording somebody else in California, this is pretty much a slam dunk case. So you gotta be careful. I mean, you just be very careful to understand the laws, to know what state you're recording in, because even if you are a resident of California and you go to Arizona, there's only one party consent in Arizona, and therefore you could be privately recorded. Okay, so under the provisions of California Penal Code, plaintiff claims the greater of, blah, 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 $5,000 per violation, or 2 free times amount of actual damage to plaintiff, and some to be established according to proof at trial. So now we get to defamation. It's basically that YouTube video about the Rolex warranty sold by plaintiff as being fake or being manipulated. The card is no good. Referencing the washing of the card. Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty clean case in my opinion. And then the hashtag. So basically, they're just saying what they said before. Defamation, dishonesty in practice, yada yada. And then we get to the damages, which is interesting. So that $1 million number that Anthony loves so much. Everything with him is $1 million. The damages are in excess of $1 million, which they specifically mention, almost like kind of a nod to Anthony, which increases daily in an amount of at least $15,000 per day. So that is a lot of money they're suing for. And then they want exemplary, punitive, and this is pretty much what you have in every single lawsuit. Disparagement, trade libel, very interesting. Obviously, I'm an IP attorney. I could say on and I could go into like the nerdy weeds of this, and I probably will because it's so interesting. Intentional interference with prospective economic relationships. Okay, here they go here. And then 6 calls, preliminary and permanent injunctions against defendants, TPG. So general damages, special damage, exemplary and punitive damages, cost of lawsuit, cost of lawyer. Does I see cost of lawyer fees? Oh, cost of suit. That's probably in that. Injunctive relief, and then this was filed March 10th, 2023. So Anthony has actually been dealing with this. So he got this letter. I mean, it was basically serviced to him, probably at his office. Around March 10th, or around March. So now we have been April, May. So yeah, he's definitely had to hire another. So when he told me that he has free lawyers on retainer and everyone laughed, I actually do think he has free lawyers. Maybe one lawyer is a trademark attorney dealing with this particular issue, because this is an issue, invasion of privacy, defamation. So it's not a criminal issue. This is a civil issue. Okay? So you're not going to go to jail for this. You're just basically going to be sued for a large amount of money. Then there is a potential allegedly criminal issue that may be happening right now. And again, that is a different type of lawyer. So these are two very different lawyers. One to handle your criminal. You wouldn't want to have a criminal lawyer handle your civil and your civil lawyer handle your criminal. Criminal, obviously, there is jail time. So it's a little very different, in my opinion. And he probably just has a general lawyer to send random people cease and desist letters. Because that would, again, could be one of these two lawyers. So the third lawyer may be unknown. Maybe the third lawyer is working on the Watch University course, making sure that it's legal. So that would be a franchising lawyer. Got it. So we have a franchising lawyer, we have a defamation lawyer, and then we have a criminal lawyer. I'm impressed. I know everybody in the comment be super impressed that there's so many lawyers engaged in this one little company. Anyway, that is it. If you guys want a full summary of my take on it and not just me reading the civil case, let me know. I would love to butcher this thing up in pieces and explain exactly each of the claims, because I think a lot of people are confused about defamation. I see all the times in my comment section. These are, defamation, very difficult to prove. And you have to prove, there's statutory damages on some of these claims, so you don't have to prove anything in statutory. They just give it to you per account. The most famous thing would be statutory age, right? Statutory blank, right? You don't have to prove anything. If the person is younger than 18 or the age of consent, you don't need to prove a damn thing. It's assumed that that person cannot consent. So it's basically lights out. And there are interesting cases about that where a person sees a fake ID and they believe it, and then they go to jail because that is statutory, meaning as long as it happened, you're going to get paid the fine. And then there's other bigger issues at play. Well, there are a lot of issues. I had no idea that Anthony was sued for defamation. Or, again, the reason I don't think this is fake, number one, a real lawyer signed off on it. This is well written. Whoever Bob's watches has a lawyer. Fantastic job. You guys did a good job writing it. It was well written, well explained. The timeline does make sense. The event did happen on late December sometime. I remember watching that video. So in between the free lawyers, what a headache, right? Anyway, let me know what you guys think. If you guys could subscribe, and share the video, I would very much appreciate it, and it would give me more reason to cover this in even greater detail than before. Bye, guys.